Teddy and Fiona work at Globotech, a small multinational company headquartered in the United Kingdom. Teddy is the chief executive and Fiona is the head of global operations.
Hello, Teddy. It's Fiona. We have a problem.
Wonderful. There's nothing like a healthy dose of bad news on a Monday morning. What is it?
One of our sales reps in India, Stephen, was arrested over the weekend. He just called our lawyers from jail in Bangalore.
Arrested? For what?
Bribery. It seems he was trying to land a huge supply contract and decided to seal the deal by bribing the customer's purchasing agent.
Stephen? Bribery? Oh, I thought he...
Wait, it gets worse. The purchasing agent he bribed was an undercover police officer.
Well, that's just great, Fiona. What do we do now?
Teddy and Fiona have a real problem, don't they? The Indian authorities have arrested their sales rep for bribery and there's no telling what may happen next. And while Fiona and Teddy may not realise it, that's not all they have to worry about. The British authorities might also get involved, even though the bribe occurred thousands of miles away and the company wasn't even aware of it. If you think that can't happen, think again. The UK Bribery Act is one of the most comprehensive and far-reaching anti-bribery laws in the world. And the British government has signalled its intent to enforce this law aggressively, including against companies who may not even know that a bribe has been paid on their behalf. And depending on the circumstances, companies that do business in the United Kingdom could be liable under the UK Act, even if they're organised or headquartered outside the UK, and the bribery occurs outside the UK as well. The effects of these crimes are cumulative. Even seemingly routine and harmless acts of bribery may contribute to a much larger climate of corruption, one that robs innocent people of their political rights, their ability to earn a decent living, their health, and in some cases even their lives. In fact, bribery is perhaps the single greatest obstacle to economic and social development. It distorts markets, stifles economic growth, debases democracy, and undermines the rule of law. And that, in the end, is perhaps the main reason why the United Kingdom and other countries have gone to such great lengths to outlaw and combat corruption in its many forms. The UK Act is a complex law, and much of this course will be devoted to explaining its basic concepts. But keep in mind that there is more at stake here than legal principles and consequences. There is a profoundly important human dimension as well. Later that day, Teddy and Fiona are on the phone.
Teddy, we just heard from our lawyers. It seems things are even worse than we thought.
Why am I not surprised? Stephen again?
Yes. Apparently he paid off the local planning officer to let us use one of our warehouses as a manufacturing plant.
Good Lord. Anything else?
Stephen has been a busy man, hasn't he? And as we'll see, he's also violated the UK Act in several different ways. To see how, let's take a closer look at the Act itself. The UK Act prohibits 4 types of conduct: bribing another person, requesting or accepting a bribe, bribing a foreign public official, failure on the part of a company to prevent bribery by its employees and other associated persons. The UK Act prohibits the payment of bribes to anyone, not just a public official, in order to get that person to perform certain kinds of functions improperly. This includes any functions that are public in nature, business-related, employment-related, or performed on behalf of a company or other group of people. The UK Act calls these relevant functions. Issuing a construction permit, awarding a government or private supply contract, or deciding where to open a new factory are just a few examples. Which of the following people may have violated the UK Bribery Act? Select all that apply. Sam, who paid a local magistrate €50 to dismiss a traffic offence. Sharla, who's offered to pay a housing inspector €10,000 to overlook building code violations, was rejected. Tom, who had his assistant give an expensive watch to an employee of a private construction company in exchange for awarding a supply contract to Tom's company. The rule against bribery cuts both ways. Not only can't you offer or pay a bribe, but you also can't request or accept one either in exchange for improper performance. Stephen violated this rule as well when he took bribes from his 2 suppliers. It doesn't matter whether you request the bribe yourself or have someone request it for you. It also doesn't matter whether the bribe is intended for your own benefit or someone else's. In either case, it's still illegal. In fact, as long as you request or accept a bribe and you or someone else performs improperly as a result, you've violated the Act, even if you believe that no improper performance has occurred. The point is that whether you're on the giving or receiving end of a bribe, there's a good chance you're violating the UK Act if it applies or some other law if it doesn't. Promotional and similar expenses are just one of many advantages that might be viewed as bribes, depending on the circumstances. 2 other advantages that you should be especially careful about are job offers and charitable contributions. Job offers to foreign officials or their friends or family members can raise significant concerns even if the person is qualified for the job. Consult your company's legal department if you're considering making such an offer. And charitable contributions made at the request or on behalf of a public official can be problematic as well, whether or not the charity is actually legitimate. Again, you should consult your company's legal department. Teddy and Fiona have just finished meeting with the company's lawyers, and Teddy is not happy.
What's so frustrating is that Stephen apparently had a history of this sort of thing. Didn't anyone check him out before he was hired?
Apparently not.
Well, that's just great. We lost the business, our production facility was shut down, and we're facing possible prosecution for things that happened thousands of miles from here, things we knew nothing about.
Careful, Teddy. Remember your
And all because of a rogue employee who no one took the time to check out.
blood pressure.
As we've indicated, the UK Act can apply to activities that occur far beyond the borders of the United Kingdom. The Act applies if any part of a bribery offence occurs in the United Kingdom. So, for example, if a bribe is wired or mailed from the United Kingdom, the Act applies even if the bribe was arranged and the improper performance occurred elsewhere. And even if all the elements of the bribe occurred outside the UK, the Bribery Act still applies to anyone who played a role in the bribe and had a close connection to the UK. This could include, for example, British citizens like Stephen and certain other British subjects, UK residents, UK corporations and Scottish partnerships. Be alert to warning signs like these, both before and after the person is hired. The customer or government agency you're dealing with recommends that you use this particular agent. The agent requests an unusually high commission. The agent makes unusual requests, like cash payments, payments to banks in other countries, or large advances. Or the agent asks you to split payments between several accounts. The agent refuses to sign a written agreement to comply with anti-bribery laws. The agent refuses to discuss his methods for attracting business. Remember, if it appears that bribery is in fact the issue, make it crystal clear that neither you nor your company will engage in such conduct. Let there be no ambiguity about this. You never want to put yourself in a position where you'll later wish you had simply and firmly said no. The stakes are too high, not just for you and your company, but for the many others who might ultimately suffer as a result. A course like this can't answer every question you might have about bribery in general, or the UK Bribery Act in particular, nor can it take the place of legal advice. If you have specific questions about any of the issues we've talked about, contact the appropriate entity within your company, such as the legal or compliance department. Now that you're familiar with the UK Act and have had some time to reflect on bribery, its consequences, and some steps you can take to avoid it, you're ready to test your knowledge of the topic by answering a short series of questions on what you've learned. You can view your results afterwards.